The Census Wealth Empowerment Act is divided into two sections, Part A and Part B, and we're going to look at Part A today and look at each section contained in the act, which will serve as a model to move forward in the elimination of poverty in America. Under Section 1, the census goals of the Census Wealth Empowerment Act, or CWE Act, shall establish for all citizens of the United States of America the opportunity to have an elevated life and a life free of poverty.
Take a stand against poverty. We could make the elimination of poverty in the United States a reality with the passage of a new federal bill that would financially empower all citizens. It's called the CWEA, the Census Wealth Empowerment Act, and it will reduce to a minimum current spending on the criminal justice system and anti-poverty programs. Read the CWEA. If it makes sense, sign the petition. Share the video. Tell your friends and family. Support the movement by sending a copy to your U.S. senators and representatives. Together, we can empower a bright future for all Americans. Visit www.censuswealthempowermentact.org.
Section 1, Article A. After the full tabulation of each 10-year United States Census, each U.S. citizen shall receive the funding as due for distribution. Citizens must be 18 years of age or older to receive funds. The total amount received per citizen per each census shall not exceed $20,000. The amount of the funds shall be retroactive at $2,000 per year starting from the 18th birthday of a citizen of the U.S. Special provisions for the allocation of U.S. citizens prior to their 17th birthday has been detailed and outlined in the introduction of the Census Wealth Empowerment Act. Under Section 1, Article B, the following lists the tax revenue generation from domestic businesses, companies, corporations, firms, and organizations conducting domestic commerce. 1. The corporate tax structure, 5% profit tax. A 3-year range of comparison. 1. Pre-census, the year prior to the census. 2. Current census year. 3. Post-census, the year following the census. 2. The census sales tax of 5%. 3. The corporate appraised property business value tax at 2.5% annually. 4. Any foreign corporation based outside the U.S. must pay an annual corporate appraised value of not less than 2.5% of operations located within the U.S., inclusive of all imports of raw materials. 5. Individual tax structure, 1.5% to a maximum of 6.5%. This is separate from personal income tax. This is an additional tax specifically assessed for the CWE Act. And this CWE Act has a 5-tier bracket of personal annual income. For personal annual income of $250,000 up to $500,000, the tax rate is 1.5%. For the personal annual income of $501,000 up to $1 million, the tax rate is 2%. For personal annual income of $1 million up to $5 million, the tax rate is 3.5%. For personal annual income of over $5 million up to $10 million, the tax rate is 5%. For the personal annual income over $10 million up to $25 million, the tax rate is 6.5%. And under this section, there's the super tier bracket of personal annual income. For personal annual income of $25 million up to $100 million, the tax rate is 10%. For personal annual income of over $100 million, the tax rate is 15%. And once again, as indicated on the Section 5, Article B, is that this is separate from the personal income tax. This is an additional tax. This is an additional tax specifically assessed for the CEWE Act. So Section 1, Articles C, D, and E. Article C says individual options. 1, rather than accept the CEWE Act funds, an individual may choose to use the $20,000 amount as a personal income tax credit. 2, the opt-out option may be used as a tax credit over an amortization tax schedule. Article D, aid to foreign country tax, 10%. 1, except for natural disaster aid, any foreign aid approved by the U.S. Congress must provide a 10% tax contributed directly to the Census Wealth Empowerment Act. And 2, humanitarian aid, military aid, and refugee aid assistance, and all other aid packages that include more than one form of foreign aid assistance must also provide a 10% tax contributed directly to the Census Wealth Empowerment Act. This is directly intended that if we can, the U.S. citizens can pay taxes to assist all other citizens around the world. And this is not to close up our bowels of compassion, but charity begins at home. It commences at home. So at any time that it's deemed that people on a foreign soil need our tax money as assistance, then so certainly there must be a recognition of the need to eliminate poverty within the borders of the U.S. That is the reason for the Section D and the tax to be imposed on any money allocated by the U.S. Congress to a foreign soil cannot be taken out of the mouths of those who are in poverty within its own borders. And Section E, no new agency creation. The lead agency shall be the U.S. Treasury Department, with other agencies having authorization in the order indicated. In other words, we don't need to create a new bureaucracy that will consume much of the aid that is needed to go to individuals. The work can be accomplished through the departments that are already established: the U.S. Department of Justice, the U.S. State Department, the U.S. Internal Revenue Service, U.S. General Accounting Office, the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, the U.S. Census Bureau, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the U.S. Department of Labor. There are enough established laws already in place, enough employees already in place that these departments can have employees that are already at work, doing work that would be then contributed directly to the Census Wealth Empowerment Act. Section 2 has 7 specific steps that will work for the betterment of the citizenry of the U.S. and also help to elevate the purpose of the CENSUS Act. The proposed national interest and achievement. Article A, the nation comes to the aid and future economic stability of the citizen. B, the nation accrues an economic uplift. C, savings occur with the reduction of welfare relief. D, new opportunity for business creation. E, movement toward a debt-free citizenry. F, movement toward economic equality. And G, movement toward entrepreneurial seed funding. Under Section 3, Articles A and B is spelled out the criminal prosecution. A, it shall be a federal crime to scam or commit acts of fraud by deceiving anyone out of funds received from the Census Wealth Empowerment Act. 1, such action shall be punishable by a mandatory sentence of 15 years. 2, the mandatory sentence must run consecutive to any other federal or state crime associated with any conviction or conspiracy to conduct a crime against anyone receiving funds from the Census Wealth Empowerment Act. Article B, no lending institution, banks or individuals, or loan company may conspire to or use potential or future funds from the Census Wealth Empowerment Act as collateral for any business venture or cash loan. 1, no individual may sign a contract or a promissory note to secure a loan from another individual based on future funds from the CENSUS Act. 2, any such act upon a conviction shall result in a 5-year sentence to be served consecutive to any other state or federal sentence and consecutive to any other sentence relative to the CENSUS indictments or conviction. 3, all such funds received resulting in a conviction must be repaid in full plus a $250,000 fine. 4, no nursing home or assisted living facility can raise or alter payment for an existing patient or resident based on funds to be received from the CENSUS Act. Any such conviction may lead to a fine of $500,000 for the CEO, COO, and or CFO, as well as all others determined to be involved. A 3-year sentence for conviction of any one count is mandatory. The institution involved may have its license suspended or revoked. Under Section 3, Articles C and D, criminal prosecution. C, Article C, an individual may not use CENSUS Act funds for gambling. A conviction will result in the repayment of funds and suspension from receiving future funds for a specified period of time or permanently. Article D, non-collection of gambling debt. 1, no casino, organization, or individual may collect money owed by an individual as a result of a gambling debt from that individual's CENSUS funds. Number 2, no casino, organization, or individual may sue to collect monies owed by an individual as the result of a gambling debt from that individual CEWE funds. And 3, pursuit of the collection of any such debt may result in the suspension or permanent revocation of any license of any casino, organization, or individual involved. Section 3, Articles E, F, and G of criminal prosecution. Article E, any casino, organization, or individual shall face a $250,000 fine for accepting CEWE Act funds as a wager. Such action may result in a suspension or permanent revocation of license. Article F, a mandatory 15-year sentence to run consecutive to any other state or federal sentence will result from the use of CEWE funds for the launch or continuation of any criminal or gang activity or criminal enterprise or organization. And Article G, any fraudulent conviction related to the CEWE Act funds against more than one member or citizen within the same household shall impose an additional conspiracy sentence of 5 years to run consecutive to any other state or federal sentence.
Take a stand against poverty. We could make the elimination of poverty in the United States a reality with the passage of a new federal bill that would financially empower all citizens. It's called the CWEA, the Census Wealth Empowerment Act, and it will reduce to a minimum current spending on the criminal justice system and anti-poverty programs. Read the CWEA. If it makes sense, sign the petition. Share the video. Tell your friends and family. Support the movement by sending a copy to your U.S. senators and representatives. Together, we can empower a bright future for all Americans. Visit www.censuswealthempowermentact.org.